All right, and we're back with the show. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from the Pop Culture Cosmos. Hey, tell you what, it's that time of the month again for us. It's just a big time for another TV update because there's a little bit more weeding out when it comes to the shows, which ones are performing well and which ones are not. And here today to talk about all the great stuff that's going on in the TV world is our good friend. She's the host of Jessica's Show and also a big time writer for the TVRatingsGuide.com. You got to check out both today. Jessica's Show, which covers a whole bunch of the pop culture and entertainment realm, plus a lot of television news. That you can go ahead and check out each and every week on every major podcast format, and also as well her stuff, her original work that's done each and every week as well on the TVRatingsGuide.com. It is my good friend. It is Jessica Boggs. Jessica, happy November.
Oh, yes. It's going to probably be Thanksgiving before you know it.
Before you know it indeed. But there is a lot to talk about when it comes to what's going on in the world of television. We're starting to finally see, after all the new shows debuted and all the shows that were here already, but still starting to see some some formulas go on, some things going, some patterns forming, so to speak. And I want to hear your thoughts first, of course, when it concerns the television world. I do want to go ahead and start off with the old standard broadcast networks because with all the viewing and all the watching that's going on, that's being moved over to streaming and cable and other platforms, the numbers are down even more, seem to be going down each and every year. But there's still some signs of activity at the level of broadcast. So I want to hear your thoughts on first what's going on at ABC.
Well, it looks like while The Good Doctor is still pulling fractional ratings, today's C3, C7 report shows that it still has a strong audience, both in delayed and in the C3, C7 metric. So it's not doing as bad as it probably could have been. But considering the state of ABC right now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And ABC probably has bigger fish to fry.
That's true, but there are some shows that you listed that are of note to people. I know one that I've noted is Stumptown, which you said has some activity on it. It may not be what people want to hear, but still, with them, you also have to consider they're one of the shows that are the most highly rated when it comes to the C3, C7 market. And when we say C3, C7, that means 3 days after airing, 7 days after airing.
Well, yeah, it was nowhere to be found on today's list on top 25, but we did know that a couple weeks ago we did see Stumptown did get pretty good numbers on the Live 3 and the Live 7 metric. And so it's still doing pretty mad, but it did get enough to do a back order of 5 more episodes. Well, most people would say that it's a negative indicator of renewal. I'm guessing that it would probably mean that there's scheduling and actor availability. That's what happened with The Rookie last season, and it's happening again this season because of Nathan Fillion.
Looks like it is just not been a good run for The Rookie. Looks like The Rookie may be going and getting a little bit hazed by the other shows that are in the same time frame, but still, I think a lot of factors, just a lot of bad mojo has just, and a lot of bad press have followed that show ever since its inception. So I don't see a continuance for that show, maybe for some time. You never know. Nathan Fillion may pull it out one more time, but I don't know. In its time slot, it's kind of hard to see a foreseeable future for The Rookie. But you've got another couple shows that you wanted to talk about. I mean, Dancing with the Stars. I mean, they don't have the numbers that they once did, but still, they're a show that I think still is one of the shows that ABC likes to fall back on. I know there's How to Get Away with Murder, American Housewife, America's Funniest Home Videos. I still can't believe that show is on the air.
Well, yeah. Speaking of America's Funniest Home Videos, like Sunday nights was at a 0.9, and the bump did not translate to the rest of the shows. The rest of the shows got 0.6, and then the Rookies 0.5.
I'm telling you right now, America's Funniest Home Videos is got to be close to a record number of years or something like that for that type of show. It's just amazing that it's still on the air. So I just, that's what that. But Dancing with the Stars, I want to know a little bit more Dancing with the Stars, because that has been a show that ABC has tried to put a lot of emphasis on. I know there's been a lot of major cutbacks. You have reported a lot of major cutbacks within the show internally, but still, it's a show that ABC is trying to rely on to, like you said before with other shows, try to provide a bump for other programming.
Well, this year it's been doing pretty steady, not as bad as last year, but steady. In this ratings climate, steady is pretty much a good thing. It had a good week last week with a 0.9, and it did a 0.8 this week too. So it's been doing steady for the most part. It has not dropped to a brand new low of a 0.6, but it's stayed pretty much at 0.8 or 0.9 for the entire run this past season.
What's going on with CBS? Because I know this is something you and I have always talked about in regards to their straight line programming, but they've made a couple tweaks and changes, thrown up some little things here and there. Evil is a show that they wouldn't normally have put on the air in the past, and that has done very well for them, even getting a second-year renewal already. So I want to hear your thoughts on Evil and some of the other programming at CBS.
Well, Evil is designed as a 13-episode season, and CBS immediately renewed it after its performance at 10 p.m., which is doing okay and somewhat solid, but not exactly setting the ratings world on fire, but enough for it to do a second season. In addition, Bob Hart's Abishola got a back 9 episode order, just like the new legal drama All Rise. Both of these numbers are getting borderline ratings, like 0.7, 0.8. All Rise sometimes at 0.6. But they now have 22 episode seasons. Thursday night comedies, The Unicorn and Carol's Second Act, only got 5 extra episodes for a total of 18 episodes. This may be a negative indicator for renewal, but we do have some comedies on the bench that CBS is getting ready to premiere in the spring. But both comedies are doing around the same on Thursday night as many of the Monday shows, like 0.6, 0.7. But as it looks like right now, the Monday night is doing a little bit better than Thursday. Oh, how far the mighty have fallen.
Indeed. Oh, how far the mighty have fallen indeed. But there's still stuff to talk about. But there's still stuff to talk about when it comes to the broadcast networks. And the one I want to talk about now is NBC. So I want to hear your thoughts, Jessica, on NBC, because they have had the success in the past recently with This Is Us. They have, for all intents and purposes, the past couple of years, moved up to being the number one network on broadcast television. And that's something I want to ask you right now. Well, actually, you know what? Go ahead, give me a report on NBC first, and then we'll go ahead and talk about their status as the number one, as opposed to another network. Because we'll save that for conversation for last. But right now, what's going on? Can you give us an update? What's going on with NBC?
Well, the voice is dropping like flies, but not exactly at a collapse level, but going down with the rest of the network, just like This Is Us. Both of them hit new series lows on Tuesday, with one of them getting a 1.2 and the other one getting a 1.4. Chicago is doing steady. It's chugging along, doing pretty well still. Med beat Grey's Anatomy for the second time this week with a 1.2. And Med has beat Grey's Anatomy one other time when they did the Chicago crossover. And NBC has already made caps and cuts. Perfect Harmony is capped at 13 episodes, but we don't expect it to last that long. And Sunnyside was already pulled from the schedule.
One thing I do want to ask you when it concerns NBC is because we stated the fact that it has been the number one network the past couple of years. Do you see a transition going on right now? Because you mentioned in your notes to me that there could be a transition going forward in the near future about another network becoming the number one network on broadcast television.
NBC, I feel like this is going to be turning into number two, because Fox right now is hitting on all cylinders right now. And speaking of Fox, you get The Masked Singer doing well, and then you have Prodigal Son, which is still a pretty good C3, C7 getter and a delayed getter as well. Even if the live numbers are borderline right now. Fox already cut Almost Family, capped it at 13 episodes because there are more dramas on the bench.
So there looks to be a change possibly on the horizon as far as the overall number one network on broadcast television. And it looks to be coming from Fox. The journey for Fox has been a long one, from a fledgling network to what we see nowadays. So it's kind of a good thing to see their perseverance is now finally paying off. They're finally going ahead and not only competing at a level that's consistent with the other three big networks, but they're now possibly, maybe, could be on top when everything is said and done, and the numbers finally roll in for the entire season. So go ahead.
So yeah, Fox is likely to be number one because they also have the Super Bowl in addition this year.
Always helps to have the big game. All right, we talked about ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox. You got it. We're coming to it. Your favorite network, but not mine. And not a lot of other people's as well because of the ratings. That's what I see. It's the CW. There is some, there was some potential good signs. I know Batwoman and some other shows, Nancy Drew, also, Batwoman and some other shows were really on the way as far as getting approved for new seasons and whatnot, getting renewed and all that. But I want to hear your thoughts on what's going on with everything at the CW.
So Batwoman and Nancy Drew both got picked up for a full back orders, just like Dynasty did and Charmed did last season, which is no surprise. This is more of like a positive indicator for renewal. And I'm thinking also the ratings are, because they are so low, that CW is thinking about, okay, this is irrelevant now. but at the expense of other shows. Now the number one show currently has hit a new low of a 0.4. I don't see how that's good for CW, to be quite honest.
Fair enough indeed. Once again, I'm talking to my good friend Jessica Boggs with her November TV update. You got to check out what she's doing today at theTVRatingsGuide.com. Plus, also as well, check out her weekly podcast, Jessica's Show, covering the entertainment world and all of the pop culture and even more every week on virtually every major podcast format. My friend, go ahead.
All 10 Anchor supported platforms, as well as Podbay and Castbox.
Plus the major one, Apple Podcasts. So if you got Apple Podcasts, go ahead, check out her show. Leave that 5-star review. Also, as well, give her a sign of encouragement that she's doing awesome as far as her show is concerned. And then, of course, you go ahead, subscribe so you get the latest pop culture and television news each and every week on Jessica's show as well. How about that? How about that for a promo? How about that for a promo?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay. Just trying to help out a fellow podcaster there. But I will tell you, there's still a lot of great stuff to talk about in the realm of television. But one last thing I want to ask you is, as far as the overall television landscape, and that is what's going on in the world of cable, because there are still some major shows which a lot of people still look towards to as moving the needle, bringing in the numbers. I know AMC, I know FX, there's still channels which a lot of people still tune into. So I want to hear your thoughts on what's going on in the world of cable.
Well, it looks like also according to the Live 7 ratings, you see that American Horror Story nearly tripled in the ratings, as well as The Walking Dead going up a few numbers with a gain of 68%.
That's a very encouraging sign, because we have only seen a major downward trend. You and I have discussed it. I've discussed it at length with Daphne Matthew of the Walking Dead fan base. So that is definitely an encouraging sign for those fans of the Walking Dead.
It definitely is. But then again, that's only like a 68% gain, even with the downward trend overall. But I'm guessing a lot of these viewers are switching over to delayed viewing and in streaming.
But she's also mentioned that the fact that AMC offers, if you buy their service, that you can see the show a day ahead of time, that might play into a factor as well.
I agree. But then we also have what we call the wrestling wars, where you have Monday Night Raw apparently taking the crown over other two wrestling shows on cable.
Yes, they do have NXT, their own brand NXT, on Wednesdays, competing against All Elite Wrestling. Now, mind you, All Elite Wrestling, being that they're just a startup organization, anything is really a positive for them. They are beating NXT each and every week on Wednesdays, if I'm not mistaken, still to this point in time. Is that correct?
That is correct. As of last week, even though the numbers were down a little bit, so was NXT, though. But I'm guessing the World Series played a role in the downward trend. It's going to probably go up this coming week.
That's a good sign, hopefully, for both those organizations as they move forward with their shows on Wednesday. With Raw, the everlasting show that it has been for so many years, their numbers have been dwindling over the past few years, but they're still one of USA's, if not USA's, marquee show that they rely upon each and every week. So how are the numbers trending so far this season for Raw?
So far, it's pretty steady. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it's down, but overall, it's pretty steady in the 0.7, 0.8 range, though not too bad. Although SmackDown is doing a little bit better with the 2.5, almost 3 million range. And
It
apparently,
it took a hard hit after the first week, which was natural. I mean, you don't have The Rock and all the other celebrities that were on each and every week. So it was just basically left up to programming. I do know the NXT stars were there last week on SmackDown on Fox, which actually gave them a little bit of a bump up because most of the crew was stuck in Saudi Arabia. So actually, strangely enough, bringing the NXT guys in and guys and gals in an emergency actually bumped it up a little bit in the ratings. So it was interesting to see that context for the WWE.
well, yeah, it was it's pretty sad for like the airplane type thing, although it was down a little bit from 2 weeks ago. Like it's it is up from the one time Fox Sports 1 airing. The Fox Sports 1 airing got like a 0.29, and that was due to the World Series. It shot back up to a 0.8.
But I tell you what, it's still interesting to see how this is all playing out when the NXT, which is well, basically it's their developmental, for lack of a better term, organization that they have, is actually sometimes helping out the ratings as opposed to the regular individuals that we see each and every week on SmackDown. So it's kind of funny there, but need I digress on that? It's just something that it will continue to watch over the coming weeks as far as the battle on Wednesdays between All Elite Wrestling and NXT. And All Elite Wrestling is still doing right around 1 million viewers, if I remember correctly. So I think that's a positive for them going forward. I think TNT is happy if it stays right around 1 million or goes back up to 1.3, 1.4 that it was before. So hopefully that'll remain the case, and hopefully we'll see more great things to come in the world of wrestling. But my friend, I got to talk to you about some good things going on with the world of streaming, with Disney Plus right around the corner at the time we're speaking. There's a lot of streaming options for you out there. So,
There are a lot of good streaming options out there. I'm personally still undecided on streaming service at the moment because I still have basic cable, and I usually do not watch streaming services or do not subscribe to them as much as I would like to.
But you're interested, aren't you? I mean, as an individual out there, like many others who are now, I guess, have been influxed with a ton of streaming service options out there. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm just going right here. Netflix, CBS All Access, Peacock is on the way, HBO Max is on the way, Universal's got something coming up. You've got the DC streaming service still out there. You've got, of course,
HBO Max.
Well, yeah, HBO Max, like I said, next year. You've got Disney Plus coming out this time. In a very short, on the 12th of November. You've got so many other different options that are out there. I mean, how do you go ahead and disseminate through it all to find out exactly which one or which ones that you would eventually be interested in?
I'm thinking also it would probably be the price point per month. But either way, this cost of streaming will probably far outweigh basic cable per month. It's still a whole lot cheaper per month if you pay for like a bundle of like streaming services versus paying your basic cable bill generally.
But do you have any in mind that you're looking towards to?
I'm looking to see how Disney Plus does versus all the other streaming services. I'm not really sure if it's going to get to a Netflix big part anytime soon. It's still too soon to think. Plus, there's also try the first episode free from Apple TV Plus. So it's still interesting to see how the competition plays out.
It is indeed. It's interesting to see how it will play out over the next 12, 18 months, even next 2, 3, 5 years. I mean, HBO Max, they were recently, the head of HBO Max recently talked about how they were going to go ahead by 2025 have over 50 million subscribers alone here domestically, and talking about another 30 to 45 million on top of that worldwide. So very interesting to see how will all play out. I know there's a lot of speculation of what's going on, who's going to choose what and where, because you have those streaming services which are pricing themselves high, like HBO Max, which will be out at $15 a month when it finally comes out of April 2020. Then you have others like Disney Plus, Apple Plus, and some others that are pricing themselves a little bit lower, more affordable, at least initially. We all know the truth as far as rates will go up with those services once they get more programming or once they get a larger subscriber base. We all know that that's impending, but at least initially you'll see some of those streaming services offer a lower price point to get people and entice people to come in to watch that. So it is very interesting to see the strategies being laid out by all these streaming services, and I just appreciate you elaborating on it. One last thing before we go, and you got to tell me what's going on with your show, Jessica's show, and also what kind of work are you doing right now for the TVRatingsGuide.com, and why should they check out the TVRatingsGuide.com?
With Jessica's show, it's available weekly through many of the major podcast networks, including Apple Podcast, as well as now Stitcher Radio and Spotify and Google Podcasts if you have Android phones. And so I basically talk about broadcasting cable, like as it goes week for week, as well as some other topics. This past week I was talking about, I think, the Halloween episode that was 2 weeks ago. Plus also I did a poetry reading, and I've read the latest episode of Network, which is available Sundays on TV Ratings Guide, and that's usually posted at 8 p.m. as well as Writer's Block on Thursdays at 8 p.m. I also do the Fox Renew Cancel and CW Renew Cancel articles to see which shows are going to be renewed and which shows are going to be canceled. So far, it's 1-1 because we don't know about Bless the Hearts. They renewed it too soon, even though it's low rated, but it's okay, I guess. I'm guessing they're ramping up on animated.
I'm guessing they are as well, because Fox, like you said, is doing rather well in the ratings and eventually could end up number one for what could be foreseeably, I don't know if it's the first time ever, but it's certainly the first time in a long time for Fox. My friend, it's been great talking to you. Again, everybody out there, check out her show, Jessica's show, on every major podcast format. Especially give her a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to it if you can. Plus also the work that she's doing and all the other great writers there at the TVRatingsGuide.com with all their original programming, the reviews, the updates, the renew, cancel indexes, and so much more. Next month, we got to be talking about what shows are already kicked to the curb and what are already just on their way out when it concerns the shows, because by then in December we're going to find out exactly who's going to be in and who's going to be out, most likely.
And so we probably would say CW renewing everything.
Possibly another Christmas present for every one of those shows, indeed. My friend, it's been awesome talking to you. I just cannot thank you enough for taking the time each and every month to speak to us right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos.